Okay, so we're about to start the tour, and I thought it would be quite cool to start it from down here because I've not shown this area in any of my videos before. So this is literally just an area to get away from the studio. There's a fridge, there's water, there's a kettle, make yourself a cup of tea, make yourself a coffee, and then go back upstairs and work on some really great music. So I'm going to take you through to upstairs and show you all the stuff that we have here at Barnhanger Studios. Here, this is going to be from my perspective. So we'll walk out of this little area here through this door. So this front door here is the main entrance. If we shut this one behind us and we walk up the stairs, we will see that the first thing we're greeted by is a fire extinguisher, which gives me and probably everybody else peace of mind. In the corner there we have a security camera. We have two. We have one that monitors the live room and one that monitors the control room. And there we also have an on-air sign to let people know when we're recording or not. Mainly people in the live room so they know that we're ready. On the top there we have a sign that gives you the iMac login. It also gives you the Wi-Fi password as well, which is really handy. And then the light switch there. So if we go left to right from here, we'll look on this side here and we'll see that we have our 1/4-inch guitar cables and our long TRS cables for reamping and our patch bay cables, the long and the short ones. And as we come over, we will see our MIDI keyboards and the sustain pedal down there as well. Top one's mainly if you want to do drum beats and drum pad, things like that. The other one is the one that's always plugged in. So if you're just on the session, you want it to reach for a MIDI piano, just turn it on and the computer will automatically pick that up. So as I said, we've got the security camera in the live room and you see that's what we're monitoring here. The iPad's also set up to control Logic and control the console. So if you're in here on your own, you can do that through the live room. You can control the control room. And then we have Logic set up already and I'll show you from here. So this is sort of like what your view will be like on the console. So the monitors that we've got the Genelex here. So that's for when we're mixing. So it's calibrated for when you've got your head hunched over looking at the mix. And these Yamaha HS1s are for when you kind of like sat back and listening to the song finished, or you've got the band in and they all want to listen, so they're all standing behind you. They're the good ones to turn on in that case. Down here there's a whiteboard on the left if you want to get write stuff down and make sure you're doing things in the right order. And then we have the patch bay there, which has got all the ins and outs of the console, as well as all the ins and outs of the external hardware and the preamp. So you can patch in things. So if you've got a microphone coming in from the live room, you can patch it into a compressor and then patch it into whatever input you wanted on the console. Coming down from the patch bay, we have a MG30 CFX solid state Marshall amp with a 10-inch speaker in it. And that's just something else we can use. We got other 2x12 amps in the live room that is mainly used. And then we have our Boss GT100 pedal board, which right now is set up to kind of get out of the way, but all the ins and outs are set up through the patch bay. So you can record your DI signal through the pedal board and then you can send out to the amp as well. So you can get two signals that way and record the effects pedal. And on the right here, we have probably the most unused piece of equipment, but in very niche circumstances it has been used. And essentially it's a cassette recorder, so you can record your finished mixes and master tracks to a cassette tape if that is something you want. And all you need to do is tell me that's what you want to do and I'll get some blank cassettes in to do that. There we have our reamping box, which is incredibly important. A real staple in the way I record my stuff is that I do like to reamp my DI'd performances through amps, particularly if we have drummer in the live room and a guitarist playing at the same time. I won't run it through the amp to reduce the amount of bleed, but then we'll run it through the amp afterwards. And in conjunction with that idea, we have a few DI boxes down here on top of our Fender Rumble bass amp. The external hardware is also set up to be working in Logic, so put an I/O plug-in on Logic and then it will pick up the external hardware from the patch bay without any patches needed at all. So what we've got a power conditioner at the top, which is what all the external hardware is running through. So you press the power button on, it turns everything on. Then we have the DBX S31S graphic EQ. So that's more going to be used not as a stereo pair, but as a mono pair on things like bass and kick drums. And then we have our MPA2 preamp, which is what we used to transmit our instrument level signals for DIs and things like that. But also they're fantastic on anything, vocals, kick, snare, you know, we've got a pair of them, so you can use it 2 at a time. And then we have our headphone amp of 8 channels down there. We can also calibrate 16 different mixes through the console as well, through the outputs down on the patch bay. On here, what my hand's on right now is the SSL UC1, which controls all of our SSL channel strips. You know, all the ones that come with SSL. I'm a big fan of SSL plugins. And then we have the main console down here. So, and a typical way you could be using it is obviously to be controlling Logic like that, the faders. But it has its own preamp gain. Every channel has its own channel strips, has its own EQ and compression, gating, limiting. So they're unlimited. So you've got 24 of those for every channel. And then you have these externals if you choose as well. So going through these externals, we had the EQP, KT, Clark Technic, Poltech emulators, which sound really cool, particularly on bass and guitars as well, just to get a different sound. And then we have our Pro VLA2 compressor, which is typically used on vocals going in, but also it uses my bus compressor on my recording sessions as well. And then we have the console one down here, and if I just press that on, you'll see that it's got, you know, the really cool thing about the console one is you can load loads of different types of compression and EQ, and you can control it here. Right now I've got a distressor as my compressor on that one there, which is again really cool for things like bass and kick drums. We take there, we've got the sofa again, but we've also got the headphones here. So the headphones all have extenders as well, so at no point will there be like wires stretching in the air. So all the wires will be on the floor. So if you are running headphones quite far away from the nearest headphone amp, then that's where you'd use them. So let's just take a little trip into the live room. As we can see, we have our Rode K2 microphone set up, and that's pretty much always set up. Behind it, we have the router with the Alexa on top of it, but as you notice, the Alexa's muted. So we've got loads of Alexa equipment to turn things on and off. So I've got the speakers set up to Alexa. So if I wanted to just turn the speakers on and off, I can do, but it is muted. And I use those routines through the iPad. And then we have the Rode K2 preamp, which is what this one's plugged into. So that microphone doesn't require phantom power. And you can also change your polar patterns there as well. So if you wanted to get a different sound through the microphones, you can. We have 14 mics in total, including the Rode K2. So the two SM7Bs, the two 57s, a small diaphragm condenser from Audio-Technica, and 8 drum mics, including 2 Pentacle condensers for overheads. Then we have the headphone out, which is connected directly to the headphone out from the control room. But it just gives you 4 separate headphone ins to go from the live room. And what that does is you can adjust your gain. Obviously you can set up your own mix, 16 separate mixes through the Studio Live 24 console, which is really handy if the guitarist wants to hear something different to the drummer. Then we have our mic stands and our camera stands. You know, if you want to film yourself, totally can. And then a lot of XLR cables basically, which plugs directly into the XLR patch bay down there. We have about 14 cables and loads of extra cables downstairs as well if we need it. Then we have a cajon, and then we have our instruments. So going from right to left, we have our Martin acoustic guitar, we have our P90 loaded Tele, which is a semi-hollow, we have our Fender Strat, we have our Gretsch, we have a classical guitar, and we have our Ibanez bass, and then we have a Squier acoustic guitar, which is high strung to Nashville tuning, so we can double over for a 12-string guitar effect. Up here, the unsung hero of the whole thing is the air conditioning unit. So the studio will be the same temperature, even in the summer, even in the winter. You know, it's never, because obviously there's no windows in here and no radiators in here, so that it really is a must. And then we have just a nice seating area. Essentially, if you're recording acoustic guitar, that's where you're going to do it from. Or if you're, you know, singing and you want to take a break, you know. Next to that, we have a disassembled drum kit. Can be set up at anybody's request. Just tell me and I'll have it set up for your session. Of course, you can bring your own instruments in here as well, and then just load them in downstairs, and you know, while you're out, I will set the drum kit up for your session whenever it begins. Our choice of amps, which is an AC30, and then we have a orange micro Terra, which is going into that 2x12 down there, and you'll be surprised how good that sounds with the very limited parametrics that the micro Terra has. On top of that, we have a decibel meter, which is really important when recording guitar, to be able to record the guitar at a very, very similar volume at all times to keep consistency, because it's quite hard to remember, you know, just how hard you're pushing it. It's always better to just crank a guitar louder than sounds pleasant in the room. Thanks for watching all the way through our tour. If you have any questions about, what sort of gear we have here, or, any booking questions or requirements, just message me on Facebook or the email that's on our website and on our Facebook page as well. Thank you for watching.